Hello guys and welcome to another video. So I just came home from Barcelona with my parents and my two brothers, and in this video I want to take you guys with me on what we experienced. So we were in Barcelona for 4 days, and the main goal of the trip was for me to complete the Barcelona Marathon, but we certainly got a whole lot of other experiences checked off while we were there. We took a flight from Copenhagen Airport Thursday the 16th of March and landed in Barcelona around noon. We then took a shuttle bus from the airport to Plaza de Catalunya, and from here we could walk down La Rambla to our apartment. We lived right across the Gothic quarters, which for those of you who don't know is such a nice place to spend time when you're in Barcelona. I would highly recommend just walking around and experiencing the Gothic quarters. After we dropped our bags in the apartment, we went down to La Boqueria, which is a very famous food market located right at La Rambla. I had never experienced this market before, but it was such a fantastic experience. They had such a huge selection of fruits I had never seen before. Furthermore, they had a lot of seafood of different kind, and of course they had huge amounts of Iberian ham and other meat. And of course there were no way around it, we had to taste test some of it. After the food market, we walked back to Plaza de Catalunya and jumped on a sightseeing bus. We had to get the real tourist experience while we were in Barcelona. I actually thought that the trip was quite good. The weather was nice and we drove past a lot of interesting buildings and locations. But the trip takes 2 hours, so you have to take that into consideration if you're planning to take a trip on the bus. And after a while, I got pretty fatigued of the music they play in between descriptions of the attractions, but overall it was a nice trip. Afterwards, we went out and got some delicious food and went home to our apartment. Then on Friday, we started the day by visiting Park Güell, which was a very nice place to take a peaceful walk and enjoy the nature and the designs of the park. I do have to say that there was very crowded at the main house, but that could of course be expected in such kind of tourist attraction. After we visited Park Güell, we went out for some lunch and then headed for La Sagrada Familia. Most of you are probably familiar with what Sagrada Familia is, but for those of you who aren't, it is, in my opinion, one of the most amazing churches you can ever visit. It is the unfinished church in Barcelona and is considered to be the masterpiece of the architect Antonio Gaudi. La Sagrada Familia represents the story of the Holy Family of Saint Joseph, Virgin Mary and the child Jesus, materialized in the stone of the building. The church has 3 facades, one that illustrates birth, another death, and the third the resurrection of Jesus. If you're in Barcelona, this would be my highest recommended attraction to visit, simply because the church is the most amazing building I have ever visited. The experience of going up in the tower is also quite an experience, and I'm very glad to have experienced the church from its current highest point. But I was most impacted by the guided tour through the church, where you can go deep in the story of how the church has come to what it is today, what it will be in the future, and how Gaudi was part of the starting project. I have now experienced the guided tour twice. First time on a digital audio tour, and second with a real human being guiding us through the church. In my personal experience, you go a bit deeper on the actual history of the church and the architectural planning of the building that went into it with the digital audio guide. But it is a livelier tour with a bit more humor and fun stories with an actual guide. So if you are in doubt of what to choose if you're visiting Sagrada Familia, you can use my experience as a guideline for what you want to experience. After we visited the church, we went out for some dinner and ended the day off in our apartment. On Saturday morning, my parents and my eldest brother started the day by going for a 7-kilometer run around the city. My youngest brother got to sleep in a little longer, and I went to the Barcelona Runners Expo to collect my t-shirt and my starting number for the marathon. This was the point of the trip where I got a bit more focused on the race, and therefore I hadn't planned too much for the day, so I could relax my legs and get ready for the run. I joined back in with my family and we went out for some lunch. After lunch, me and my parents went up to the city to try the Barcelona cable line. It was a nice experience where we could relax together, but the walk up there was pretty steep. So a pro tip for me is, if you are running a marathon the next day, it could probably make sense to consider taking the subway up to the cable line. After the cable line, we all went out to have dinner at the most amazing restaurant I have ever experienced. It is called Los Caracoles, which means the snails, and is pretty describing of the restaurant because they are famous for the snails that they are serving in this place. I will not even try to describe the amazing experience it was in that restaurant. The actual restaurant, the atmosphere, and especially the food was absolutely amazing experience, and without a doubt my most recommended restaurant to try while in Barcelona. A absolutely wonderful experience. Then Sunday rolled around and I got up to get ready for the run. I was pretty concerned because my legs felt pretty tired from all the walking between attractions we had done the last 3 days. But I did not regret anything because we got to experience so much in such a short period of time. We then headed for the starting area, which luckily was just a couple of metro stops away. When the race was about to start, I was pretty excited, but also a bit nervous because this was only my second ever marathon. The run went as expected. Very challenging, but a badass experience. The first 10K pretty much served me as a warm-up, where I tried getting in the zone and preparing my mental state for the upcoming challenge. The next 10K also went pretty smooth, but when I entered the mid-20s, around 25 to 27 kilometer mark, I got my first major crisis. My left hamstring and calf started to produce a lot of pain, and I was pretty worried that I would start to cramp. My solution was that I started compensating by running a bit heavier on my right side, and I luckily got past the issue. Around 35K, I really started to feel my legs getting tired and my cardio getting very affected. I was challenging the pace all the way through the race by running an average pace of 4 minutes and 39 seconds throughout the marathon. This was maybe a bit optimistic, and it resulted in me coughing up a lot of slime for the majority of the race. But I do have to say that I am very happy with my ability to disperse my power throughout the race. As you can see in the right column, I had a pretty stable pace throughout the entire race, and is something that I will take with me into future races. Besides this, I can only say that after the 40K mark, I was absolutely on the moon. Completely exhausted and only going forward with the last bit of energy I could manage to find. When I hit the finish line, I was greeted by my parents and my brothers who was waiting for me. They had been traveling around to cheer me up in different parts of the run for the entire race. Sometime after the race, I got into a bit more of a normal state, and we went out to get a absolutely enormous ice cream and headed back for the apartment. I quickly jumped in the shower and then we headed down to the port to get some delicious drinks. Afterwards, I split a whole lot of dumplings with my parents, and afterwards got a large kebab with my brothers. Later in the evening, we all went out on a sports bar to watch Barcelona play soccer against Real Madrid, but I didn't even last for the first half because I was so tired, so I just went home to sleep. On Monday morning, we got up in the morning and ate a very nice breakfast together that my dad had made in the apartment, and afterwards we traveled back to Denmark. This has been one of the most amazing trips ever, and I feel so lucky to have experienced it with my family. On top of that, I broke my personal best marathon, so it was a pretty successful trip. I want to thank my family for the amazing trip and all the wonderful experiences. At last, I want to thank you for watching the video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care.